Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Lydia here. If you're new to this channel, in this channel I just usually share some of my experience of how I completely changed my lifestyle in the past 2 years by building up a healthy routine, by reading more books, going to the gym, etc. And occasionally I share some of the fun things happening in Hong Kong, the cafes that I go to and the restaurants that I go. With the time passed by, I really want to share more the useful information and hopefully it will be helpful for you. Today I'm going to start my brand new book club series. The books that I love the most, the one that actually changed my life. When I look back for the past 2 years by building up a reading habit, I actually have read more than 40 books. Let's get to it. Today, the book that I'm going to share is FACTFULNESS. It's a book that level-headedly presents the cool facts and the data about the world that we live now. It has a new 4-income level system that we should view the world as is. And it's a very helpful book that you can actually develop a fact-based worldview to embrace the ever-changing world. How I discovered it? The other day I was hanging out at a bookstore and I was trying to find out what I should read. And this book seems super big and thick. I was just not ready for it. After I read several books more, then finally I was attracted by this book when my heart is ready for it. I should have started reading it earlier actually. If you ask me who should read it, I would recommend everybody to read it. The book's so good and so engaging and so compelling to read. Don't be tricked by the book to think that it will be very difficult to read because you see there have all those graphs and data on it. It's a very fun book to read. I couldn't put it down when I first started reading it. I've recommended to so many people, like my friends, whenever they start a reading habit or whenever they want to read a fun book, whenever people ask me, what's your favorite book? I would just say FACTFULNESS. It's like, end of story, like this book, if you haven't read it, please read it. So what's in this book? Let me see. It starts 13 questions about the world and how to understand it. Say, for example, some fact questions. Should global climate experts believe that over the next 100 years, the average temperature will A, get warmer, B, remain the same, C, get colder? Or questions like, there are 2 billion children in the world today, aged 0 to 15 years old. How many children will there be in the year 2100? I thought I would be able to do pretty well, but it turns out I did very poorly, but I was not alone. According to the Hans Rosling, according to all the years has been doing this research thing, he said that not many people across developed or developing countries, most of the people did just as great as chimpanzees. The chimpanzee got it 33% right. Most of the people in the world did worse than a chimpanzee, even worse than the probability. That really got me really want to finish this book. He goes on to talk about 10 instinct bias that we all have as human beings. There's a nice summary at the back of this book. Let me show you. We summarize the 10 instincts and how you should do about it. Each chapter, he starts from describing the instinct and address 1 or 2 of the fact questions in the introduction, ended by providing a FACTFULNESS rules. I don't want to review too much about this. I really want you to really read it by yourself. I will just say about 2 instincts here that I find very interesting. The first is a negative instinct. We all have this instinct. I believe you can feel it as well. It's deeply wild in our human brain that we sort of have more of an alert system to look at the bad things happening. But the book is here to tell you that by drawing all our attentions to the bad things happening in the world, we might have ignored all the positive improvements that we have already made as a society and as the world. Just a quick example, as the book points out, over the last 20 years, the proportion of people who live in extreme poverty has almost halved. But only of the 10% of the polls that Hans Rosling did actually knows about this. Not to mention, our life expectancy actually increased from 31 years in 1800 to 72 years in 2017. This book is written in 2017, so that's not the latest data, but it's already very good. And not to mention the other 32 improvements that you can read more in the book. The other instinct I think is really interesting is the urgency instinct. You must be familiar with this. There's this now or never thought in our head. You often see it in the ads, oh, buy it now, it's 50% off. I found out that maybe you observe something different, but every once in a while, they all have something 50% off or 40% off. They always say that if you pass this, that you will never come again. It will come again. In the chapter of urgency instincts, it actually tells you how now or never will block our roads and our minds. This is extremely helpful for me because I was almost always anxious in the past, always thinking, oh, what will happen in 30 minutes time? What will happen to my next appointment? What will happen if I don't have enough time to get on the train? What happens if I don't have enough time to catch the bus? Nowadays, when I realize that when you can actually focus your mind at the current moment and when you actually focus on the things that you should get it done, it's usually quite useful and you always have time. Like what the author has mentioned in this chapter, relax is almost never true. It's almost never that urgent. It's almost never an either or. Knowing that some things are enormously important is, for me, relaxing. I don't tell you not to worry. I tell you to worry about the right things. So he actually listed 5 global risks we should worry about. And actually, that's the one thing about not being urgent, is knowing what's more important in our world, in our life. The other thing I really like about this book is Hans Rosling actually elaborated that we should no longer divide the world as developed and developing countries. Instead, he developed these 4 income level systems from layer 1 to layer 4. It's at the back of the book and also it's throughout the whole book. He developed a system that divided the world for 4 groups, from the extreme poverty for people who earn only less than $2 a day to more wealthy levels, the level 4 that people can actually earn 32 or above. He framed it as a video game. Imagine that you're playing a video game and you start from level 1, what kind of resources you have, what kind of opportunities you have. All of the people in the world are trying to play this game to up their level from level 1 to level 4. And also, if you're watching this video or you have heard of this book, probably, as the book has said, you're already in level 4. He also have a world map of health and wealth graph. It's at the beginning of this book. The link is down below that you can also find it in their website so that you can have the latest. Like you just see on the screen. Pretty interesting. You can pick all the countries that you're interested in, select what kind of parameters, and it will show you how it grows in the past 200 years. You can actually track real time what's the development for each country. Why do I say this book is life-changing for me? I think there are a lot of concepts that has mentioned across different books, like how to stay calm, how to stay in the moment, and how to see things as means but not as ends. But this book is really put everything so systematically and with data and very interesting stories. At the beginning of the book, he says, to the brave barefoot woman whose name I don't know, but whose rational arguments saved me from being sliced by a mob of angry men with machine. There's a story in this book. He was doing some research in a remote African country. He's a health expert. He needs to collect some of the blood samples, and it was not communicated well enough. So the angry mob surrounding him, this lady who came out of that tribe actually just reasoning with everybody. She's like, do you remember a few years back, we actually have this pandemic. Some doctors came in, collected blood samples, and they created this vaccine so that now everybody is fine. And the woman was like, who's with me? I'm going to give the blood samples. And that's so well reasoning without having any proper education. One takeaway for me is we should always try to learn and look at problems with a calm, logical mindset. I think this book, it's actually presented me a new way of thinking shift, that how I should look at problems, how I can view the world with a fact-based mindset. Helps me a lot, no matter from work or from personal life, and how I view today's news flying around. So helpful. Who's Hans Rosling? You might ask. He is a Swedish physician, academia, and public speaker. You'll find his TED Talk easily. I also have a link down below. His TED Talk is quite interesting. His main practice is in public health. If you're interested, he also has another book. It's a memoir called How I Learned to Understand the World. Factfulness is more database and more reasoning, and this one has more stories about all those years he spent on public health in African countries and also South American countries. No matter which one I read, memoir or this Factfulness, I could sense a passion and his deep love about the world. And it almost feels like you're joining one of his class. He actually passed away in 2017 while he's writing this book. He spent the last few months while writing this book. You barely can feel that. That's how hopeful he is, and that's how he wanted to help other people to have a curious mind and to always look at the world as a fact-based world. If he's message has delivered to me, I wanted to pass it along to you who's watching this video. It's a very engaging and interesting book to read, and it's going to change your mindset and guide you through our lives. Really, really recommending. It will be your next book that you want to read. So that's it. Thanks for watching for my first official book club series. I'm going to introduce more and more books that I really love. Hopefully I will become better and better in delivering all the messages. And if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button to come back every week. I'm going to upload content every week, and hopefully I can do it consistently. You can also follow me on Instagram. I'm going to share more about this beautiful Hong Kong. I'll see you next time. Bye.